Oh, it's you. Now, don't apologize to Sebastian. He's simply doing his duty by allowing you inside. Though I must say, your timing is rather inconvenient. I wasn't expecting visitors this evening. Especially not ones who look as though they've been dragged through the Thames. Come away from the doorway. You're dripping water all over the marble. Sebastian, fetch some towels. Then prepare tea in the drawing room. Yes, I'm aware it's raining. That's precisely why you shouldn't have been wandering the streets of London in such weather. What were you thinking? No, I don't want to hear your excuses. Not while you're standing there shivering like a drowned cat. This way. The drawing room has a fire going. At this rate, you'll likely need it more than I do. Sit. Preferably somewhere that won't ruin the upholstery. The armchair near the hearth should suffice. I said sit. Must I repeat myself? Good. Now, Sebastian will be here momentarily with something to dry yourself off. In the meantime, you may explain precisely what possessed you to venture out in such a storm without so much as an umbrella. You were at the bookshop. Of course you were. I should have known. You and your obsession with those dusty old volumes. Though, I suppose I can't fault you entirely for that particular vice. At least it demonstrates some measure of taste. The storm came on suddenly. How unfortunate for you. And fortunate for me, I suppose, since I now have to play host when I'd much rather be reviewing these quarterly reports. No, don't look so guilty. I'm merely stating facts. That's all. Come in. Ah, Sebastian. Excellent timing as always. Leave the towels with our guest. And the tea? 10 minutes. Very well. That will be all. Here. Before you catch your death. I imagine that would cause no end of trouble with your family. They'd probably blame me somehow, knowing my luck. What? No, I'm not concerned about you. Don't be ridiculous. I simply don't want to deal with the social ramifications of a family friend falling ill under my roof. It would be troublesome. You know, you really should take better care of yourself. It's reckless to wander about without considering the weather. Stop looking at me like that. I'm not worried. I'm being practical. There's a difference. You may stay until the storm passes. It would be improper to send you back out into such conditions. Sebastian will arrange for a carriage to take you home once the rain lightens. Till then, I suppose I can tolerate your company. Don't smile. This isn't an invitation for celebration. Though, I suppose you're marginally less insufferable when you're not actively trying to provoke me. Nothing. I said nothing. Just dry your hair properly. You look pathetic. No, you don't need to sit in complete silence. I'm not that cruel. If you must speak, then speak. Though do try to say something worthwhile, I won't tolerate mindless prattle. Your book. From the shop. Let me see it. The language of flowers. How very sentimental of you. I suppose there's some merit in understanding such symbolism. My mother used to keep an entire garden dedicated to... Never mind, it's not important. You ask too many questions. You know that. Always prying. Always trying to understand things that don't concern you. No, I'm not angry. I'm simply... I suppose you mean well. You always do, don't you? Even when you're being insufferably persistent and meddlesome and... Why do you keep coming around? You and your family have maintained relations with the Phantomhive estate for years, yes, but you, personally, you continue to visit, to check on me, to treat me as though I'm still just... The storm is worsening. You're fortunate you arrived when you did. Ah, the tea. Thank you, Sebastian. You may leave us. Here. Earl Grey. I recall you favor it. 2 sugars, yes? And a splash of milk. Don't look so surprised. I pay attention. It's simply good manners to remember the preferences of frequent visitors. Nothing more. You know, I've been meaning to... That is to say... This is absurd. Why is this so difficult? No, don't apologize. You haven't done anything wrong. I'm simply... I'm not accustomed to this. To having someone who persists. Who doesn't treat me as merely the Earl of Phantomhive. Who sees beyond the title and the responsibilities and the darkness that surrounds this manor. You're irritating and presumptuous and far too cheerful for someone who associates with a household like mine. But you're also honest and kind. And you don't flinch when others mention my past. You don't look at me with pity or fear or disgust. You simply look at me. As though I'm still someone worth knowing. I don't understand it. Why you bother? Why you continue to return here, despite my coldness, despite how I've treated you. We've known each other for years now, haven't we? Since before everything. You were there at some of those insufferable social gatherings my parents used to host. You were always reading in corners, trying to avoid the other children. I found it amusing then, how you'd hide behind potted plants with the book, hoping no one would force you to dance. I remember more than I let on. I remember you trying to speak to me after I returned. After my parents died. You didn't offer empty condolences like the others. You simply sat with me. In silence. In that garden. You brought me tea that day. Earl Grey. 2 sugars. I never thanked you for that. So, thank you for that day. And for continuing to visit, despite my best efforts to drive you away with my attitude. You're more persistent than I gave you credit for. It's not entirely unwelcome. The rain is still quite heavy. I think perhaps you should stay for dinner. It would be impractical to send you home in this weather. Sebastian is an excellent cook, and I suppose I wouldn't mind the company. Just for this evening, you understand? Don't become accustomed to such invitations. Though, if you wish to visit again soon, that would be acceptable. More than acceptable. I find myself less opposed to your presence than I once was. I'm not admitting that I enjoy your company. That would be absurd. I'm simply acknowledging that your visits are tolerable, occasionally pleasant. Sometimes I find myself looking forward to them. There. Are you satisfied? You're still shivering slightly. Here. There's a blanket on the settee. Allow me. Better? Don't mention it. I'm simply being a proper host. Well, this storm is passing. Eventually, you'll have to return home. But for now, we can simply sit here by the fire with our tea. And you can tell me about that book. The flower, meanings and symbolism. I find myself curious. And perhaps I'd like to understand what you find so fascinating about such things. And perhaps I'd simply like to hear you speak. Without arguing. Without the walls I usually keep between myself and others. Just for tonight, I can try to be the person you seem to see when you look at me, rather than the one I've forced myself to become. Is that all right? Good. Then stay. Stay as long as the storm lasts. Then, perhaps even a little longer than that. Thank you for not giving up on me.